The moment my daughter stepped out of the truck, two men in cheap uniforms rushed toward her like they had been waiting all day. One of them pointed a gun at her and shouted, "Stop right there. You're trespassing on HOA property." His voice shook, not from fear, but from fake authority. My daughter didn't move. She just stared at him with a calm that made the air feel heavier. I knew that look. It was the same one she had when she told me she was taking the FBI field test years ago, the test she passed on her first try. But these men didn't know anything. They assumed she was just a young woman visiting her dad's land. One of them waved a clipboard, stamped with fake HOA markings, and said, "This area is restricted. Your whole family is on violation notice." He tried to sound official, but the paper looked like it was printed in someone's basement. My daughter slowly lifted her hands, not scared, just calculating. She whispered, "Dad, don't react yet." The taller man stepped closer, his gun still shaking in his hand. "You people think you can ignore HOA rules. Not today." His finger hovered near the trigger, and my heartbeat slammed against my ribs. But I didn't move because the real twist hadn't hit them yet. They were pointing a gun at someone who spent her life training agents to disarm threats in under a second. Then the shorter guy shouted for someone to call Karen. "Tell her we got the trespasser," he said. That single line told me everything. This wasn't real HOA enforcement. This was Karen's little personal team, following her orders like she owned the entire neighborhood. My daughter's eyes narrowed. She leaned toward me and whispered, "Dad, this is about to get messy." They still had no idea who she really was or what she was capable of. The tall man kept his gun raised, but I saw his confidence fade when my daughter took a tiny step forward. Not aggressive, just enough to test him. He barked. I said, "Don't move," but his voice cracked like someone pretending to be in charge. The shorter man grabbed his radio and said, "Karen, we got her. She tried to enter the property again." He looked at us like we were criminals, even though the gravel under our feet was part of my land. Land I bought 20 years ago. Land with my name on every document. My daughter tilted her head, almost curious. "Your uniforms?" she asked quietly. "Where did you get them?" The tall man stiffened. "Issued," he said, lying too fast. She gave a soft laugh that made both men tense. Real security doesn't issue weapons, tactical boots, or radios running on police channels. Her voice was calm, but the air shifted. They sensed something. Maybe danger, maybe truth. But they still refused to back down. Then the shorter man made the mistake that changed everything. He reached for her arm. He didn't even touch her. Her hand moved so fast I barely saw it. She twisted his wrist, took his radio, and shoved him back in one smooth motion. Not violent, not excessive, just controlled. He dropped to his knees, stunned, staring at his empty hand. "What are you?" he gasped. The tall one panicked and pressed his gun harder toward her chest. Step back, step back." My daughter didn't even blink. She looked at the weapon, then at him, and said softly, "You don't know how dangerous this is for you. Put it down before you ruin your whole life." That's when a car screeched around the corner. Karen's SUV. She jumped out before it stopped and yelled, "Good, hold her until the real cops come. She's been breaking into this neighborhood for weeks." Her voice echoed across the land like she ruled the world. She pointed at my daughter and shouted, "She's banned from this HOA. I issued that order myself." My daughter turned toward her, her eyes cold. "Ma'am," she said, "you just admitted to something you don't understand." Karen scoffed. "Oh please, and who are you supposed to be?" My daughter stepped closer, her voice dropping. "The last person you should be pointing a gun at." Karen didn't catch the warning, but the two fake officers did. Their faces went pale. They finally sensed they weren't dealing with an ordinary girl. They just didn't know her identity yet. When the shorter man said he was calling Karen, my daughter calmly lowered her hands and tilted her head like she was bored. The tall one barked again, "Don't move," but she didn't even look at him. Instead, she turned to me and said, "Dad, step back to feet." I obeyed without questioning. The fake officer thought he had control, but he didn't realize she was measuring distance, judging angles, counting their mistakes. Then Karen stormed out from behind a truck like she had been hiding there, waiting to feel powerful. She wore sunglasses, even though the sun was behind the trees, and pointed a finger straight at my daughter's face. "There, arrest her. She stepped on HOA soil without permission. Drag her off my land right now." My daughter raised an eyebrow. "Your land?" she asked, almost giving Karen one last chance to stop. Karen laughed loudly. "Yes, my land. I run this HOA. I decide who lives here. And you don't belong here. So either you go to jail or you get off my property." My daughter slowly smiled. Not a friendly smile, but the kind that said Karen had just destroyed her own future without realizing it. Okay, she said. But before I leave, let me ask something. Did you hire these two men? Or did you just give them shirts and guns from your garage? Karen crossed her arms. They're community security. They follow whatever I say. Both men straightened instantly, trying to look official. My daughter's smile widened. So you're responsible for them? She asked. Karen nodded. Of course I am. That's when my daughter moved. No warning, no big motion. In 1 second, she twisted the tall man's wrist, disarmed him, slid the gun across the dirt, kicked the second one in the knee, and pushed him face down before he understood what happened. She didn't injure them seriously, just enough to make sure no one fired a shot that day. Karen froze. Her mouth fell open as she watched the two men she believed were trained officers lying in the dirt crying for help. My daughter stepped toward her. You pointed weapons at a federal agent, she said. Her voice was calm, but the weight of her words hit like thunder. Karen blinked fast. A federal agent? No, you're lying. You're just some girl trespassing. My daughter pulled out her badge. Karen's face turned pale as if her soul was trying to escape her body. You impersonated law enforcement, my daughter said. You used untrained men with illegal weapons. You threatened a homeowner on his own land, and you tried to stage an arrest for a rule that doesn't exist. Karen stumbled backward. Wait, I didn't know. They said I thought it was a disagreement over property lines. My daughter pointed at the ground. Dad owns this entire land. Every inch you walked on belongs to him. She paused, letting the truth hit. So you just trespassed, assaulted an agent, and aimed a weapon at the landowner's family. Suddenly, 3 real police cruisers pulled into the driveway. My daughter had already pressed her emergency alert the moment a gun was pointed at her. She stepped back and let the officers handle it. The real police looked at the fake officers, then at Karen, then at my daughter's badge, and everything made sense. They didn't argue. They cuffed Karen first. She screamed, "You can't arrest me. I run the HOA," one officer said. "Ma'am, HOA rules don't override federal law," then added, "or basic common sense." The fake officers tried to limp away, but they were caught too. One cried, the other blamed Karen, and Karen blamed everyone except herself. As they were taken to the cruiser, Karen shouted, "This is a misunderstanding. I was protecting the neighborhood." My daughter let out a quiet laugh. From what? Property owners standing on their own land? Karen had no answer. When the cars finally drove off, my daughter looked at me, brushed dirt off her jacket, and said, "Dad, can we go eat now?" "I'm starving," I nodded, still absorbing everything. "You handled that like it was nothing," she smiled. "I didn't train for nothing." As we walked back toward the house, I looked at my land, my daughter, and the quiet road where chaos had just erupted, and I felt something strong rise inside me. This land was ours. This family was ours. And nobody, not an HOA, not fake officers, not Karen, would ever take it from us again. The end.